Hello and welcome to the Awakening with Kelvin Phiri Podcast, part of our Bridges to Prosperity series. I am so glad you have joined me today. In this episode, we are going to talk about something that directly touches the lives of ordinary Zambians, something that has been both praised and criticized, and something that is right now at the center of Zambia's development conversation, the Constituency Development Fund, or what we usually call the CDF. If you live in Zambia, you have heard about it. If you follow politics, you know it is often debated. Some people say it is working, others say it is not. Today we are going to look at where it came from, why it was introduced, how much it has grown, what it is being used for, and whether it is truly making a difference in the lives of our people. Disclaimer. Before we get into the details, let me make this clear. What I am sharing in this episode is based on official records, the 2026 National Budget Speech, Auditor General Reports, and independent studies available as of 2025. This discussion is for learning and reflection. It is not legal advice, financial advice, or a political endorsement. My aim is to present a balanced view of the facts so that you, the listener, can make your own informed judgment. The beginning. The Constituency Development Fund was first introduced in Zambia in the year 1995 during the presidency of Frederick Chiluba. At that time, the vision was simple but powerful. The idea was to decentralize development, to make sure that it was not just people in Lusaka deciding where money should go. Instead, money would be sent directly to constituencies, and communities would identify the projects that mattered most to them. In those early years, the amounts were very small, just tens of thousands of kwacha for each constituency. But the goal was not about big infrastructure. It was about small but meaningful projects. A borehole for clean water, a 1x2 classroom block for a local school, a rural health post, a small bridge, or even housing for teachers in rural areas. The aim was to let people feel that development was happening in their own communities and not only in the capital city. That was the ultimate goal of the CDF, to bring development as close to the people as possible, to put resources in the hands of local leaders and communities who knew their own priorities better than anyone else. Over the years, the fund did grow, but very slowly. By the year 2013, during the presidency of Michael Sata, the allocation had increased to about 1.3 million kwacha per constituency. That was progress compared to the very beginning, but even then, many people felt it was still far too little to meet the real needs on the ground. By 2021, under the government of Edgar Lungu, the allocation stood at about 1.6 million kwacha per constituency. Communities still used it for the same kinds of projects, small infrastructure, bursaries for vulnerable students, and minor community works. But the complaints had grown louder. People were saying this money is a drop in the ocean. When a school needs 8 classrooms and the CDF can only pay for 1, the difference feels very small. Then came a major turning point. In 2021, the New Dawn government came into power. In 2022, they made what can only be described as a bold and historic move. They raised the CDF allocation to 25.7 million kwacha per constituency. The following year, in 2023, it increased again to 28.3 million. By 2024 and 2025, allocations hovered between 30 and 36 million kwacha per constituency. And now, in the 2026 budget, the government has proposed an astonishing 40 million kwacha for every constituency in the country. To put this into perspective, only 5 years ago, constituencies were receiving 1.6 million kwacha. Today, we are talking about 40 million. That is more than 25 times higher. The expanded purpose. As the amount of money grew, the purpose of the CDF also expanded. It was no longer just about small classroom blocks locks and boreholes, the fund became more ambitious. Today, the CDF covers bursaries for vulnerable students so that young people who cannot afford school fees have a chance to continue with their education. It supports youth skills training, giving young men and women access to vocational skills that can help them build a livelihood. It provides loans and grants for cooperatives and small businesses, encouraging entrepreneurship and self-reliance. It still supports infrastructure, classrooms, clinics, teachers' houses, small bridges and rural health facilities, but now at a larger scale than before. In some constituencies, CDF has even been used to purchase equipment from ambulances to graders and borehole drilling rigs, depending on what the communities identify as their priority. For example, in Kasama Central Constituency, CDF money was recently used to complete a maternity annex at a rural health post, reducing the long distances women had to travel for delivery care. In Monze Central, part of the fund went into bursaries, ensuring hundreds of vulnerable students were able to return to school. And in Dola's Kabushi constituency, empowerment grants were rolled out to youth cooperatives who are now running small poultry and carpentry businesses. These examples show how the fund is trying to meet both immediate social needs and longer-term economic empowerment goals. The question of impact. But here is the important question. Is it working? The government data tells us that it is. According to the Presidential Delivery Unit, by June of 2025, about 63% of all the CDF money released had been utilized. That means councils and communities were using the money to implement projects. Classrooms have been built, bursaries paid, health centers constructed. The government also points to success stories where constituencies are thriving because of CDF investments. In Lunda, classrooms built using CDF have eased overcrowding in schools, with reports of improved pupil performance. In Chongwe, women's cooperatives funded by the CDF have invested in tailoring machines, creating both income and jobs at the local level. But on the other hand, the Auditor General's reports have highlighted challenges. In some places, projects were delayed. In others, procurement processes were weak, opening the door to irregularities. And there have been cases where money was sitting idle in bank accounts because councils had not yet identified or approved projects. This is why government has adjusted the way money is released. In the past, councils would receive the full allocation early in the year. But because some were simply holding on to the money without rolling out projects, government has shifted to a new approach. Now, councils are required to identify and submit their projects first. Once the projects are approved, the money is released. The aim is to make sure funds are not just parked in bank accounts, but are translated into real, tangible development. So once again, we ask, is CDF working? The honest answer is that it depends. In constituencies like Kasama, Monze, Ndola, and Lundazi, you can see visible results. Clinics built, students supported, cooperatives empowered. Communities in those areas are feeling the impact. But in other constituencies, the picture is different. Projects have stalled, money remains unspent. And some councils are struggling with the sheer scale of funds now under their control. In those places, the people do not yet feel the benefit of the allocations. What is clear is that the Constituency Development Fund is now one of the most important tools Zambia has for decentralized development. Never before in our history have constituencies been given so much direct funding. But with great resources comes a great responsibility. The fund can be a blessing, but it can also become a missed opportunity if it is not managed well. As we look back, the CDF has come a long way. From its birth in 1995 with just a few tens of thousands of kwacha to 1.3 million in 2013 to 1.6 million in 2021 and now a proposed 40 million in 2026. That journey shows how important government sees this tool for local development. The big question now is not whether the money is there. The big question is whether the councils, the committees and the communities have the capacity, the transparency and the accountability to make that money work. So is CDF working? In some places, yes. In others, not yet. But one thing is certain, it has the potential to transform lives in a way Zambia has never seen before. If managed well, the classrooms will be built, the health centers will be equipped, the bursaries will lift young people, and communities will finally see development that they can touch. If not, it will remain another story of wasted potential. That is why every Zambian must take an interest in how CDF is being used, because at the end of the day, development is not about numbers on paper. It is about real people in real communities living better lives. Thank you for listening to the Awakening with Kelvin Phiri Podcast, another episode in our Bridges to Prosperity series. I hope this has helped you understand the history, the evolution, and the current debate around the Constituency Development Fund. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and let us keep building bridges to a better future.